Good morning, Aries. How are you? Today is February 12th. I'm here to do your reading for the week. I'm going to start off with the astrology because there's a lot happening and some very interesting and important transits this week. First, Pallas Athena moves into Aries on February 14th. Now, I don't usually talk about points like Pallas and other not planets, but points like that. But moving into Aries is of note. Now, Pallas is sort of the yin to Mars's yang. And it's very much about wisdom from experience, not making the same mistake twice, creative learning, strategy, healing, arts, wisdom. And when it's in Aries, it gives you an urge to pioneer, to do something new. You may have sudden realizations, an increased sense of being competitive, like we needed that. And this lasts until April 30th, which is exactly when our retrograde season starts, right? Because as I mentioned before, we are now in the period where all of the planets are direct, and this lasts until April 29th. So Pallas is going to be making you feel even more Aries than normal, but almost in I don't want to say an aggressive way, but again, in a well thought out way. So it's less do first, think later, but hey, I remember that if I do it this way, this will happen. So what else can I do? Coming up with like strategies for new ways of doing things. Then on the 14th as well, Pluto trines the nodes. Now, this is not a transit that happens very frequently. The last one would have been about 10 years ago. And Pluto is obviously the point of transformation, and the north nodes are points of destiny, which are currently in Taurus. So this is very much, and if you suffered kind of like a recent shock or a recent shift, this is very much in encouraging energy to finish that transformation towards where you're headed to. I also don't know about anybody, but I had like last Wednesday was like the worst day. I haven't had a bad day like that in years. We also have to remember that there are tons of planets in Capricorn right now, which is of course squaring our sign. Then on the 15th, the sun squares the nodes, which that's more common, but it's usually a choice point. Like, okay, well, do you want to go in this direction or do you want to go in that direction? And that will probably be spurred on by what happens with Pluto trining the nodes. Then on the 16th, we have Venus conjunct Mars, and both in Capricorn. So very realistic. That's the masculine and feminine energy meeting, balancing each other, but in a very rational sign, like in a very unemotional way. So it's one of those like, I love you, let's sign a prenup so that we can get married kind of things. And then on the 16th, at the same time, we have also the full moon in Leo. And the Sabian for that one is a mermaid. And mermaids are these kind of creative, fantastical creatures, that symbolize the coming together of two different worlds. And so that's, there's very much this common theme. If you notice, the word that I keep repeating is creativity. So I feel like this is a really creative time for us. Then on the 15th, oh, sorry, I skipped that one. Yeah, Mercury moves into Aquarius on the 15th. So that's one less planet squaring us. And then on the 18th, the sun moves into Pisces. And you will feel that because Pisces is our 12th house. That can mean that your vitality levels like drop, especially because with Aquarius, it's like, like going here, doing this, being social, talking to your people, connecting with your tribe, moving. And then the sun moves into Pisces and all of a sudden it's like the mermaid going from the sky, diving into the water. So just keep an eye out for that day. Make a little note on your calendar that you may feel suddenly it's like somebody took the wind out of your parachute and you end up in the water. So all that said, let's move forward to the cards. Can I get the overall energy for Aries week of February 12th, 2022? I can't even believe it's already mid-February. This year is flying. Okay, yep, there it is. Completion, right? Full moon in Leo is, full moons are about closing, ending things up, but with every ending is a new beginning. And so this is very much about wrapping up the past in a ceremonial way, paying your respects, remembering what was, but at the same time, putting it to rest. So not like, defiant, oh, forget it, that was such a terrible experience. Be like, that was a wonderful experience. It taught me this. This is what I needed to know. But now here is how I'm going to use it to fuel my creativity, my sense of joy. Really letting, especially at this full moon, letting the past go with respect. And we get this card occasionally, right? But it only comes out really sort of like at landmark moments, when it's really a time to formally acknowledge that the past is done. Now let's get the challenge energy. Oh, all right. Okay, this guy always makes me laugh. This is the King of Pentacles here, right? And so there may be a challenge for some of us in feeling abundant, or there may be an issue with partying too much, or being, having gotten too comfortable. So this could go in any number of ways. It's that you may not feel abundant. There's some sort of lack, in which case, it's like, well, let's sort of put to bed what it is that's causing us to feel this sense of lack, or, or keeping us in that sort of headspace. There is also a fact that we may have been stagnant for so long, just enjoying what we had, and now the universe is really trying to push you into a new, more creative path, or to just create something new, to use your energy, not to, be seated and enjoy the riches, but to actually like get back and get moving. So there's some sort of completion here over how you deal with the idea of, or how you've been dealing with the idea of abundance. It can also be that you've been having a hard time like finding the path to abundance, and with that palace moving into Aries for the next month and a half, 2 months and a half, sorry, that you start to find that there's actually some creative ideas that you weren't expecting, but they require walking away from some old ways of doing things. So it's like very banal example, because the cards are not always like big deal things. Like they can be really easy. I'm redoing my website because the other one was sort of like an easy version that I've done. And now after a year of experience, I know now in order to level up what needs to happen. So by me putting to rest my old website, without being, and I've kind of like been crapping on it, like, oh, it was terribly done. But, it's like, it was what it was. It got me to where I needed to get to. And now it's time for me to take that next step to this path here. So these energies can be as simple as that. Can I get the lesson energy, please, for the week? Oh, this came out twice, even while I was shuffling. So heart awakening. Awaken to acceptance and divine love. Give and receive in balance. And this is, this is kind of that, this is very Piscean energy. This is also that palace energy. It's very much about moving into like being open to what's trying to come into your life as well. And it's interesting, these sort of two different energies here, because this dude's like, it's interesting. It's like the Venus and Mars in Capricorn that I was saying. He is like really comfortable, kind of like stuck there. And she is just this, they're both abundant, but in different ways. One is receiving and one is like, I've got it already. So kind of blending these two energies of feeling abundant, but resting open to something new that comes into you, or that wants to come in. So kind of like not, the phrase they have in Italian is don't sit on your laurels. I think maybe I have it in English too, but that like, yes, okay, you may have achieved something and a certain level of success or a certain level of abundance, but something is going to come in to close that's asking you to now be open to something new coming in, that you'll be invited to create something new. Let's see what we have here. Okay. All right, okay, way too many. Thank you, though. Starting and ending energy. Okay, 1, Field of Dreams in reverse. Second card, please, for ending energy. Okay. And then, okay, Sacred Pool, also in reverse. So these are both cards that talk about creativity. Let me read them real quick here. So you may not be feeling creative and you may need a place for, or like some sort of inspiration about what you're supposed to do next. Let's see here. So this one says, are your dreams your own or are they really someone else's? Have you chased money, possessions, or prestige? So maybe that's the other thing that this is a challenge, is that you've been trying to get rich and that's not necessarily what it's about. Have you placed security above fulfillment? Has approval seeking played a major role in your motivation to succeed? This is the time for you to assess the validity of your dreams, your talents, and your willingness to be a challenge or a channel for inspiration and creativity. Don't be afraid to enter the field of dreams, for now you can always clear the ground for new and better things to grow. Right, so that's what we've been talking about here. Nature has a way of self-correcting if you're willing to act with authenticity. The power to create is within you. And then the Sacred Pool here is, it can be difficult to overcome denial when there is a reward for staying where you are. All right, so these are all saying the same thing, that like you may have reached a certain point that has to be relooked at because the universe is going to send some wake-up call for you to do something new, do something more fulfilling, do something meaningful, that you know that you're being invited to a new stage of creativity. So it says, if you can't accept and love yourself, you remain trapped, wearing a false mask of victimhood. The benefit of embracing denial and the victim's mask is that you never have to take a real risk, right? Like, so this is always the like, oh, well, you know, I can't because this. Well, I can't do that because she said or he did, etc., etc. So dimming your light serves no one. Turning away from the truth that is reflected in the stillness of the sacred pool keeps you in denial, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Such vain efforts lead to a tedious, boring existence. Take the risk and shine your beautiful light into the world. Look in the mirror and see the truth. Surrender the need to self-sabotage. Remember that you have a responsibility not just to yourself, but to the divine spark within you. Courage is not the absence of fear. Accept the discomfort of seeing with clear eyes, and you'll soon find that wondrous adventures are waiting for you. Step into your magical life. Take the leap of faith. And we saw the whole leap of faith coming up last week in when the Fool showed up so prominently in the center of the reading, right? And so this is really, it's just kind of echoing what we saw last week, is that there is a very clear phase that's coming to an end. We are being called, yes, okay, wow, 2 6s, right? So something about the past and having to move on from it, that like perhaps we're getting stuck in a sense of nostalgia of what was, but we are being called to move on from the past. There may also be, you know, so like this is reminding me of when of what I was doing like May 2015, when I had a job that I absolutely loved, but the conditions made it, like the universe conspired once again for me to have to leave a job that I didn't really want to. Like I knew it was going to turn into, I knew things were going to go wrong, but I wasn't 100% ready to do it. But since Pluto is involved, and there's that Pluto trining the nodes, right? I knew that if I didn't give it up, I was going to lose it anyway, or it was going to be so miserable to stay that it wouldn't be the same place anyway. So we are being asked to move on from something that feels comfortable, that we may have loved dearly, and we may actually be like a little bit bummed about having to move forward, but because we're being called into, you're not happy about it, maybe creating anxiety. I'm going to get one more card here. Yes, that's exactly what I was expecting. Right? Leo, the sun. Something in the past, right, that we really enjoyed, but now someone is asking us, and the cards look like this actually, someone's asking us to move on. We don't want to move on, or whatever the next step is causing us anxiety. We feel safer back in our comfort zone, and right now we find ourselves out of our comfort zone. And what ends up here is the sun, right? And these are two very different energies, right? One is kind of like an old stale form of abundance, and the other is feeling new, right? Like feeling joy again, feeling what the sun feels like on your skin, as opposed to, I always think this guy, he reminds me of Jerry Garcia, so like high, super drunk, like it, just in like a haze of something, whereas this is some like a childish innocence of joy. So they're two very different forms of happiness, right? And so we're being asked to move out of our comfort zone into a space where we may feel like little babies again, with the good and bad of that, when we start something new, it's uncomfortable. You have to learn how to do everything all over again, and you make mistakes and you fall. Like think about babies when they first learn to walk. It takes them months to learn how to get their balance, and then just to take that first step, and then they fall, and then they take a step and then they fall, and then maybe they take 3 steps. So there is a process, and we don't like process, and we don't like change as human beings. But we are being kicked out of the nest, kicked out of the opium den, to move into a very different space. This is, as I said, it's a kind of a more innocent, heart-based sense of abundance, less earthly, less Capricorn, and this may be heralding the move into Pisces energy, less about show me the money and more about how am I. And it's interesting that there's a sunset here and a sunrise at the same time, right? And there's that orange, which is the same orange here, sort of moving out of the scene. So less about show me the money and how am I impacting the energy around me? What creativity, how is my light shining? This, that came in this message too. Wherever you are afraid of shining your light because it's more comfortable where you are, that is where the universe is going to make it rather difficult and uncomfortable for you to stay. So if you're finding yourself in that state, right, where you kind of have to like move into something new, but you don't want to, and it's starting to get uncomfortable, this is the wake-up call that this is where the universe wants you, in a more joyous, open, creative, blooming, blossoming, flowering state. Let me get a piece of advice here. Okay, can I get some advice for Aries, please, for the week of February 12th? Okay. Of course. When it comes out twice, or basically 3 times, you can't ignore it. So here we have Angel Bathiel and Rose Quartz, heart healing. So it's very much about moving into, embracing a feminine side, embracing that feminine creativity. The Empress is coming to mind. Let's read here. Okay, so we bring you the gift of heart healing. Over many lifetimes, your beautiful heart has loved and lost and loved again. You have learned how to feel joy, pain, suffering, and bliss. Your wise heart knows that life is filled with darkness and light, and it chooses to love the divine and participate in life anyway. You might worry that your heart has been stretched beyond its limit, right? And that's kind of this pain that's going on here. I don't know, I don't know if I can take much more energy here. Become closed or broken. Yet your heart is filled with divine grace, power, and of course, love. It can and will heal itself to love again, bigger, bolder, and braver than ever before. Do not doubt the healing power of your heart. There is power in your heart to heal through struggle into joy, and your heart has the gift of helping to heal others with love. Your open, kind heart helps soothe others, bringing comfort and reassurance to the world. Trust your heart and let it heal and guide you into the most beautiful and loving divine destiny waiting for you. So interesting. It's really like out of the head and into the heart, out of the what was that song? Into the Unknown. Is that from Frozen 2? I kind of have that going. This is what happens when you had young children or young girls in the house. Yes, so into the unknown, but into a heart-based unknown, right? So it's kind of like, and I actually just did an interview this morning about this, where it was like, when you work for money and ambition and success, right? You have these kind of goals, right? I want to buy this, and I want to have this, and I want to be able to afford this. And when you switch professions and start working for purpose, or that you build in a purpose into what you are doing, this is of course important because we have to pay. Unfortunately, the rules of 3D are that we have to pay for things in order to obtain them. But what brings you to life, or what motivates you, is no longer the compiling of new things. It becomes, you start measuring the quality and success of your life according to a very different benchmark. And so I feel like this is kind of what's going on, right? Aside from there being this very strong creative awakening and learning to tap into and tune into your heart space, but also shifting a way in which we evaluate our success or what abundance means, right? And it not being really about the material or what we have, but really about how much we shine and how much light we broadcast onto others. And that's the ambition. Okay, so very interesting. It kind of like very much a wake up, like rise and shine, here's your mission moment. I hope this was helpful for you, and I wish you a very lovely week, and I will see you next time. Take care.